5-0 on your ass, don't get stuck. My shit blasting up. Window tinted, can't get caught. My bitch bad, sport more leave you on your ass, taking up.
Yeah. What's the deal, everybody, man? This is Ricky Montoya checking in, aka the Fooest of all bears, and you are now tuned into I Think You're My Driver podcast, man. So shout out to y'all who have been tuning in with me. Of course, if you are not following me, that at itymd.podcast. That's on Instagram, that's on YouTube, that's on Spotify, Apple Music. And I feel like I'm forgetting another one, but it doesn't even matter because that's everywhere that you can find podcasts at, man. And of course, you got a story, you got something that you want to share, and you're a little too camera shy to jump on and, share it with me in person. Listen, that email, itymd.podcast@gmail.com, man. So thank you to everybody who has been tuning in with me throughout this entire series that I have been bringing forward to you guys and all the listeners. Shout out to everybody that's on Spotify. Shout out to the people who are listening on Apple Music. And shout out to all of y'all who really tune into the YouTube, man. Listen, I don't blame you. If I can get it for free, I can get it for free. So shout out YouTube MT3, right? YT to MP3. If you know, you feel me? So today I bring you guys to episode 33. And with episode 33, I'm actually going to go ahead and take this back to the roots of the podcast, man. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the Foo Bear's career of being a former Uber driver, man. I said it again, a former Uber driver, man. So with this one, I kind of got a little bit of a thing that I want to start off with. And this is going to be, of course, another shout out to the homie Z. Shout out to you, Foo. Now, he shared a story with me, I want to say probably about a month or so ago, where he actually was ranked like the top 10% out in the Dallas Metroplex. Now, Dallas is probably one of the biggest cities in the country, probably not the biggest city, but one of the biggest cities in the country. So to be the top 10%, which 10% in like a population of what, like a couple million, a lot of million people, I don't care. That's a big ass accomplishment. Because listen, fool, when I tell you, I used to pride myself on being this, 4.9, 5-star driver, bro. I used to really pride myself on being that, but I never got the opportunity to rank within the city. And being out here in Oklahoma City, it's small, fool. It is very small, but I never got a chance to reach that pinnacle. But also at the same time, with him getting the opportunity to reach that pinnacle, it was very inspiring to me to remind me that I need to bring this back to the roots to tell you about my 5-star service that I done gave. Because listen, bro, even though I didn't get a chance to rank in the percent of Oklahoma out of 1 to 7 drivers, man, one of us has to be good. And I mean, I'm not saying that I was the best driver. I probably was. I could get you to your destination in a timely manner. We're going to get there safely. I'm not going to be weird. I'm not going to, say, hey, man, what you got going tonight, baby? I'm not going to hit you with none of that. I'm going to ask you about your day. You want to tell me about your dog? You want to tell me about your sister? I'm here to listen to everything that you got to say. It's very important that when you are in a service field, that you are providing top tier 5-star service. In all honesty, like I say, I should have got that 10%. But you know what, bro? You know what? I'm going to kick back. I want to go ahead and, kind of list off a couple of things here real quick as well, because I think also what played into a factor of me not being able to get that 10% is there is a couple of things that I faulted on a couple of times when it came to me driving. Actually, ironically, I did get docked for this once. So for those of you who don't know, Oklahoma City or just Oklahoma in general is a very family-friendly, retirement-friendly state. It's where people come to just escape. Oklahoma City is like those one that you would like to call like, ooh, I want to find somewhere that's city, but not too city. I'm moving to Oklahoma City. It's pretty small. Now, granted, from today's standpoint at the time of me recording this podcast, we are a growing city, especially with the Oklahoma City Thunder in the finals for the NBA. Last night was game 3 to be specific. I'm not going to talk too much because they lost, but that's a conversation for another day. Us being this growing city it's only going to be a matter of time for us to reach on the same, I guess you could say, statistics, or in the view how people view a lot of these other big cities. Now, to a lot of the people that live here in Oklahoma and have moved to Oklahoma City, they went from smaller, small towns. So Oklahoma City is the big apple to them. But, it's not their fault. Now, when I say that specifically, it's because a lot of these people that live here have lived here their entire lives. So a lot of the stuff that they're used to, a lot of the stuff that they are looking for, it comes from an older standpoint of thought. I'm not faulting anybody because at the same time, I could have been doing my part to make sure that I can be that 5-star driver at all times to reach the 10%. But I think the biggest thing that was very helpful on my part is that I didn't make it such a visible insecurity, if that makes sense. So one of the things that I have talked about previously is that I don't have a radio. I still don't have a radio in my car to this day. I've had my car, I think, probably going on about 6 years now, if I'm not mistaken. I think it'll be 6 years in this coming November. Yeah, it actually will be 6 years in this coming November. So, most people don't get a chance to keep their car longer than 4 years. Let's be honest. A lot of y'all ain't even in relationships longer than 7 months. But you know what? I'm not here to tell it. You feel me? Don't shoot the messenger. But I've had this car for that long, and maybe for the first year and a half to 2 years, the radio worked clean. The radio was working perfect. The Bluetooth, it was a little shaky. It was a little shaky, but I maintained and I did what I could. Sometimes it would disconnect, but at least you could still hear the music through the speakers, even if it was the trash ass radio. Even if I got NPR playing, or you get to hear, all the throwbacks of Katy Perry from 2010 to 2012, there was something playing through those speakers. So what happened when all else fails? Got to get a Bluetooth speaker, man. Now, of course, I done came up in the world and I got me, a nice little Bluetooth speaker. It got lights on it and shit. So, it's a party. It's a party. It's making you feel more welcome because previously I did have a Bluetooth speaker, which was literally about this big, a little $10, $15 speaker that you can get from Target. And it was one of those little clip ones, basically one that you would keep on you if you were going running. So didn't really pack a whole lot of boom. It did to a certain extent, but of course, with cheap products comes a short lifespan. So after a while, the battery life started to give. It didn't sound as loud, even at full capacity, as far as full volume. It didn't really play all that loud. But if the one thing that I've learned in life, you have to improvise with shit like that. So when it comes to speakers, and if you had to do this, you know where I'm coming from. If you put a speaker into a cup holder or into your door pocket, it sounds a little bit louder because it's reverberating to bounce up and, spread around. So, it sounds amazing to me. But there has been a couple of instances where I've been cleaning the car and got the speaker in the front, put in the cup holder. Man, it don't make a damn difference when you're sitting in the back seat, bro. But you know what, bro? I didn't make it a big deal. And I think that's the biggest thing right there. Is that even when those, so-called insecurities are right there on Front Street, you got to kind of own it. And you got to be able to stand confident behind that. And I think that's what also helps you excel to stay on that 5-star service, even though you're not always in line of being 5-star service. Now, of course, aside from being this handsome, young, friendly man, aside from all that, on top of that, front of my car is just a little damage, So what happens whenever you're driving in a city that has horrible potholes? They don't really take care of the roads how they're supposed to. So shit's gonna happen, man. So, there's a little plastic piece, for those of you who don't know, a little plastic piece under the front of your car. There's a lot of things, a lot of different names that people like to call it. In the dealerships, we call it a splash shield, splash guard. And basically, it's what covers the oil pan and where they remove whenever it's time for you to get an oil change. Living out here in Oklahoma in these horrible roads, I've cracked that splash shield. As a matter of fact, it's not even there anymore at this point. There's a little kick plate that's the extra little coverage because the splash shield is just the coverage for the kick plates that reveals the oil pan. That as well is also broken and dragging. It's a lot more funny whenever you're going to pick up a passenger and you have that kick plate splash shield dragging, because when you're hitting these lower roads, you're going to hear me before you see me, bro. So I have all these factors that are playing against me as far as first impression, first presentation whenever you're seeing me, but I make it up by being able to tie you in and make you feel comfortable. I'm gonna allow you to, get off whatever you're feeling, because I've also learned that being a Lyft and Uber driver, we're basically bartenders. So that's also another thing that kind of helps, is that you having that good conversation or you being a good listener. Because in all honesty, bro, if there's one thing that I've learned about adulting, is that we all need somebody to talk to. Some people don't really have a whole lot of people that they can really run to or turn to. So if they have something on their mind and they happen to just get in the car with you, I don't really agree with this mindset, but there's a lot of people out there who are just like, you know what? I'm never, ever going to see you ever again in life. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you my deepest, darkest secret about how I accidentally ran over the family dog. And it's just like, whoa. You're not expecting to hear a lot of these kind of stories, bro. But it's just a matter of you making people feel comfortable to where you can maintain that 5-star service, man. So listen, I did what I could, bro. I played some good music, man. I got a couple of different playlists, because even though this is Oklahoma, not everybody is older. And of course, not everybody is the same age as I or slightly younger than I. So gotta have a different couple mix of playlists. So I had a nice little throwback playlist. And what's on this throwback playlist, you ask? Man, you got to have a little bit of Usher, a little bit of Erykah Badu, throw on a little Spice of the Temptations. You might even have to throw on some Biggie in there, man. It's just a matter of you basically putting in all these different tastes into the pot and just hitting shuffle. Let Apple Music take care of the rest. Of course, for you Spotify users, we all know that Spotify has a better feature in shuffle, but Apple Music has been coming up in the last couple of years, man. They have that same, I guess you could call it like bleed, as far as like the songs transitioning well into each other. And as long as you let the songs play, bro, it'll transition well on its own, man. The one thing that I've also learned as well is that sometimes your algorithm likes to get picked up on all of these different platforms that you use. So Apple Music specifically, when you listen to a lot of songs, sometimes it'll like to cycle through those couple of songs that you like. So you kind of have to, manually find a song, or in my opinion, take a request or two, man. And it's very big for you to make sure that you do everything that you can to maintain that 5-star service, especially whenever you're not always providing 5-star service, man. Listen to me, man. That's just one of the pieces of the pie. Also, I got reported for this once where I had a phone mount, which is one of the, so-called requirements, is to have a phone mount. That way your phone is hands-free. Let's be honest, you shouldn't be having your phone in your hand if you're driving in general. When you're operating heavy machinery, you should not be having distractions accessible for you that could stop you from reaching your destination safely, especially when you're carrying other people, bro. So I was very big about making sure that I had a phone mount at all times. But there was one time on the day where the phone mount, no joke, fell from my window. And I mean, granted, being out here in Oklahoma, when it comes to summertime, do get a little steamy out here, man. On a really, really good day, man, it could be 118, 125. So it can be pretty steamy out there. I'm sitting at a stoplight and the shit just falls off. And I'm looking at it like, are you kidding me? Like right now? And I had a passenger in the back seat. Luckily, this was also one of the passengers that I had that wasn't a big talker. And I mean, I'm sure in their mind mentally, they're like, look at this old dumbass little kid. He's sitting over here looking at this like cheap ass little phone mount just like fall. And, to a lot of people that are just experiencing this from the other side, you've been trying to stretch out the life of this item, knowing that this shit is just done. It's time to get rid of it. You're making money every single day. I'm telling you, they're giving you those same things that you're thinking about. And I don't know about you guys, but when I know I'm messing up, don't tell me that I'm messing up, because it's only going to make me mad because I already knew that I messed up. You feel me? But, as an adult, got to take accountability, man. And on this day, phone mount breaks. I was already planning on buying one at the end of the day. So for the remainder of the day, I'm gonna go and get the chili. I'm gonna go and get all the chili that I can. So I'm, big like this. I'm putting it in my lap. Sometimes I, may hold it off to the side or whatever the case. Don't recommend, of course, because, like I say, you operating heavy machinery. But when that's all the resources that you have at that time, man, sometimes you got to rely on good old Pomelo. You feel me? So pause. That's crazy. But you got to make sure that you can have something to rely on. And when you don't have that phone mount, man, got to improvise, man. So I ended up picking up this old lady like later on in the day, and everything was cool, bro. Everything was cool and copacetic, typical old people fashion. She's telling me about her grandkids and telling me about what she does and doesn't do. So, everything's perfectly fine. We're having good conversation. I got a little background music playing because, she's talking. It's kind of rude for me to just allow the music to just be blaring while she's trying to tell me stories. And I thought everything was all cool and green. Bruh, at the end of the day, I get a report from Lyft to say, hey, we got a report from a passenger today that shows that you did not have your phone in a phone mount, which is in part of your contract, whatever, whatever. You need to make sure that you do this. Please get this taken care of or your driver profile will be closed. And I'm like, bro, what? Because like that day was one of those days when I did like 32 rides and I only got one report of this. So I know for a fact who reported the ride, because it also, when you get a rating from passengers, you see which passenger leaves the 5 stars, and you can see when they leave those specific comments, it gets left with the star rating. So it didn't take nothing for me to go ahead and take a dive back to figure out who it was. So shout out to you, Carol. I'm talking to you directly. Talking to you directly. And, it's just like one of those things to where it's like, like I say, when it's time to be held accountable, you got to be able to stand on 10 toes. But at the same time, man, lady, I was going to get one at the end of the day. As a matter of fact, after I dropped you off, like 3 rides after the fact, I went and bought one from Ross. So get up with me. You got to wait until the first, but I digress. I digress, man. So moving on from that, fool. Listen, man. When it comes to you providing this 5-star service, you got to be able to make people feel comfortable to get off whatever they have going on in their mind. But also at the same time, some of these people are just going to tell you it no matter whether you want to hear it or not. You know what they call it? Unsolicited information. You didn't ask for it, but I'm going to tell you. So I picked up this lady one time. It was like a regular weekday. I picked her up from this taco place. This taco place that's over there in downtown. I believe that's on like Northwest 3rd or something like that. It's like right, if you're in Oklahoma City, it's like right before you get to the county building where the Sunnyside Diner is. There's that taco place that's attached to the same building. I go and pick up this lady. I don't really know where the parking lot of this place is, so I'm parked in the back and I'm sitting out there. And the timer was about to run out, and I'm like looking at my phone, like, dang, lady. I'm like, do 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 do. Like, are you coming? Where you at? I'm about to leave you. I'm about to get this $5 and say, oh, I waited the 5 minutes. But I go ahead and wait it out because I'm probably parked on the wrong side. So she finally comes around and she's like, oh man, I didn't even know you were out there. I was over here standing on the front side, like looking like, man, where's this guy at? I know I'm not that drunk. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be one of those kind of rides. Personally, I'm not really a drinker. So when it comes to like being around drunk people, granted, doing this Lyft and Uber job, it just comes with it. It just comes with the territory. But just because it comes with the territory doesn't mean I want to put up with it, right? So she gets in the car and she's like, oh man, like, I'm so glad I was able to find you. I thought I was going to get left. Like, she's like, I mean, I could have booked another ride. It's really not that big of a deal. But thank you so much for even waiting for me or trying to call me to let me know where you were. I really thank you. And that's also another thing that's going to help you out, man. Listen, is to make sure that you reach out and give them a couple different points of contact to make sure that they can locate you. But also at the same time, my guy, if you leave out around that 5-minute period, man, you got to leave that paper trail to make sure that they know when they look back through those logs, hey, I attempted to reach you. I attempted to call you. I sent you a couple messages, man. So I don't need that coming back on me whenever I get my $5 fee and you try to hit me with a chargeback. You feel me? So Fast forward, I pick up this lady. She gets in the car, real general conversation, a little icebreaker. How's the night been? This, and that. And she was like, oh, tonight's been pretty cool. She was like, I got a pretty eventful night, still going on. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, it's about like 8:45 at night. Like, what else are you doing? Like, what? Are you about to go take a bubble bath and write you a little, Rev Run poem in the bath before you go to bed? No. She literally was like, well, not to like say too much about myself, but like, I'm a massage therapist. And I was like, okay. And she's like, yeah, I know it sounds so bad, but I'm like a licensed massage therapist. Like I went to school for it. I did this. I specialize in, X, Y, and Z. And I mean, I don't really give a damn what you specialize in. I don't give a damn what you do with your life. Get yours. You feel me? But she goes to, basically continue to tell me that it's like, yeah, I have a pretty like heavy clientele, and majority of my clientele are people who are coming through or leaving town. So I'm like, okay, so I'm picking up what you're putting down, and she's basically telling me that her clientele is actually a lot of people who work in the railroad industry. And for those of you who don't know, Oklahoma City actually has one of the biggest railroad companies out here that runs majority of their routes through our states. Of course, us being the middle state of the country and Oklahoma City in specific being the dead center of our country, we're a big passing point. And the train railroad industry is one of the ones that's another big industry that passes through this place. So she goes to tell me that, like, yeah, a lot of my clientele that come through here are actually guys who work in the railroad. And she's like, I don't know what it is, but those railroad money guys make a lot of money. I'm like, yeah, they do nothing but work. Like they work, 90 to almost 100 hours a week, man. You better be getting paid for that shit. And she's like, well, the thing is, like, I don't really care what you guys do or how much money you make as long as you're spending it on me. And she's like, that's what I got going tonight. Like, I was at this taco place and, I was having me my little margarita and I was about to have another one. But I'm like, nah, I can't be getting too drunk because one of my regulars texted me to say, hey, what are you doing tonight? I'm in town for today. I leave tomorrow afternoon. Like, can I get an appointment with you? And she is like, of course, I'm not missing any money. I just spent freaking $45 by myself drinking margaritas and eating all these damn tacos. I got to make that money back somehow. And I'm like telling the guy, she's telling me that basically she sends a message back like, yes, I don't have anything going today. If you want to book an appointment, we can definitely make something happen. Like, what time do you need me there? This and that. And she's like, yeah, so I'm about to meet this guy. And I'm like, all like, oh, I look ridiculous. Like, I just got finished cleaning my house. So I'm wearing like, little, I guess you could say like workout shorts and like a regular little t-shirt. And she's like, I'm looking real dusty. And he's like, oh, like, it's okay. Like, get yourself dolled up, make yourself look nice. And she's like, come on now. I don't want to look like an escort whenever I'm walking through the hotel. And I'm like, you don't want to look like an escort, but you're walking through a hotel on your own with a bag, a gym bag to be specific, or as they call it at this point, a spend a night bag. It's just like something where it's like, come on, lady. Like, at a certain point, these breadcrumbs are going to add up to something, man. You feel me? Like, you can add whatever you want in the mix, but I'm picking up what you're putting down, bro. So I go and she's telling me about like, yeah, my rates are this, like in this, I typically have like a massage table, but since like this was like very impromptu, I only have like a couple of things. But she was like, luckily, he says he has a lot of the stuff in the hotel room. So she's like, I just got to bring myself. I'm like, yeah, you got to bring yourself and a nice little baby wipe, right? If you know, man, real stomp down. It's just like so interesting on how openly people are to really tell you about what they got planned or what they are anticipating, bro. And Oklahoma City in general has a very heavy industry of this, which I didn't know this until being out there in the field, putting, boots on the ground, if that's what you want to say. And I had another encounter just like this once where one time I went to go pick up from this motel, now apartment complex. There's this like spot that's like right down the street from the airport that used to be a motel. And I'm parked out there out front and I, send the pin to say, hey, I'm sitting outside right here by the entrance. I'm in this, such and such car. I'm parked this way next to whatever car. And so I'm sitting out there. About 2, 3 minutes go by, and I'm like, okay, so I don't know if these people are going to come, but I'm going to hit them with, hey, are you still coming? Are we still good? And as soon as I, send that message, I look in my rearview mirror and I see Dumb and Dumber coming out of the motel room. And when I say that, there was a gentleman and 2 women that were walking out together. Now, I try my best not to be one of those kind of people who are judging you right off the bat, because at the same time, being in the position that I am, talking about having this car with the Dragon Splash Shield, I don't have a radio. And, you know, sometimes after picking up people, you got a little bit of a vibe in the car, if you catch my drift. So these 3 people walk out, gentlemen and 2 ladies. Now, right off the bat, I'm already knowing what I'm getting myself into. And I'm going to tell you why. This gentleman that walks out, he was dressed like the times have not changed, like we weren't in 2023, 2022. There's a lot of people who they get into a certain point of their life and that's just it. That's their life. And this gentleman was dressed just exactly like that. And I'm going to tell you exactly what this gentleman have. Now, like I say, we are in Oklahoma at this time, probably 2022, 2023. What the hell are you doing wearing a basketball jersey and Wrangler jeans in the summertime? Come on now. And on top of that, you got a fitted hat that's not even a new era cap. Like, what? I'm already knowing what it is. And you're walking out with 2 ladies. I'm already knowing what it is, but you know what it is, man. So they come up to the car. They open the door. One opens up on the passenger side. One opens up on the driver's side rear. They get in the car collectively. The gentleman, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, sits on the passenger rear side, and the 2 ladies get in on the driver rear side. So they all get in the car. Like I say, both doors are open. Before both doors are closed, the girls are already talking about having threesomes and how much they love having threesomes. And I'm like, what? I just met you. Like, how are you already talking about this kind of stuff? Like, okay, it's going to be one of those kind of rides. And she's like, yeah, like, I just love having threesomes. Like, how can you not? When you have 2 girls, like, you want to do that? It's such a good time. Oh, my goodness. But the other girl was like, stop it. We need to stop before we make this Uber driver uncomfortable. And I'm kind of like looking like, okay. And the girl in the middle, she sits up front, or she pushes herself up front and puts her arms on both of the seats and is like leaning up. But she was like, well, I can make you uncomfortable. And I was like, okay. Like, what you mean? What you mean? I mean, you're not making me feel uncomfortable, but what are you referring to? And she's like, I'll go ahead and tell you. She was like, listen, this is what we do. And I'm going to tell you, like, my name is this. This is my partner, such and such. And, we provide services. You can do solo. The solo is going to run you about X, Y, and Z. But if you want to feel real good and you want us to make you feel real good and give you the experience of a lifetime, listen, we got a good little package for you if you want to take the both of us together. She's like, you ever had a black girl and a Mexican girl take you down at the same time? And I was like, bro, what the fuck? Like, fool, I ain't even been in this ride a whole 2 minutes. Like, what are we talking about? And I'm sitting there like, okay. But, I'm one of them kind of people where I'm going to hear you out. I'm going to see it through. I'm going to see you through, man. I'm going to treat you like a Spectrum salesman out in Walmart. I'm going to let you lay out the whole menu for me. And she goes to tell me like, yeah, we offer this. We do this. We're into X play and we're here to doing this kind of stuff. We do this and into fetishes, like whatever your dream is, I am here to supply you, man. Word to Justin Hernandez, your wish is my dream, or whatever she said. Like, bro, they're on that type of time. And I mean, like I say, being a young, handsome man like myself, I don't blame them for pushing up on me, man. But also at the same time, I know you're just about a bag. In the same fashion that I'm just about a bag. But at the same time, this was only going to be a 5-minute ride. So I really wasn't going to complain the whole lot. Now, they're telling me about all this stuff and they're listing out all these different prices and stuff like that. And I don't remember nothing about the menu in specifics as far as the prices that they gave me. But one price stuck out in particular. And she goes like, yeah, we offer X, Y, and Z package. But if you just want to try this out and you want to do this, listen, I'll go ahead and make you a deal. Like if you got 250 on you, man, we're actually about to go up into this motel room. So if you want to follow us and you got 250 on you, we could definitely make your dreams come true today. I'm like, make my dreams come true today? What are you talking about? Like I pay $250 a month for my car note. Huh? Like, how am I gonna like put my life in jeopardy, not knowing who in the world y'all are, and you got this weird looking fool who looks like he ain't got shit to lose because he's still stuck in the 2000s, and you want me to come up front and come up to the room to you guys in this random ass motel? Negative. And for $250 when I haven't even paid my car note. I think also at this time my car might have been a little bit late. Like, so I don't really got room to play with at this point, bro. So a lot of this stuff is really just stacking against me. And sometimes, when a shark is in that water and they smell a little bit of blood, you either got to figure out how to, maneuver another way, or you got to play dead. I didn't play dead, but I was just kind of like, oh, okay, this and that. I'm only in the car with them for about 5 minutes because we're going right down the road. And I'm just like, oh, okay, this and that. And they're like, oh, okay, so you're not budging, but you know what? It's okay. She's like, if that's not what you're into, I get it. This and that. And I was like, yeah, I'm honestly a married man. Like, I'm a married man with a kid and this and that. And they're like, listen, it doesn't matter. Like, we don't judge. We're not here for this. And I'm sitting there like, lady, shut the fuck up. I don't want your services at this point, but I'm trying to be polite. And it's like one of those points to where you have to just be able to let people down easily. And what it ended up coming down to is before we got to the motel, which was 5 minutes away, they're like, but you know what? It's fine because we don't have a car. I'm like, where are you going with this? And they're like, well, we need a driver. And, money's good on this side. So it really don't matter. Like your price is your price, just like how my price is my price. And I'm kind of like thinking like, what are you trying to negotiate here? Like, where are you going with this? And she's like, I mean, I'm saying like, we really need a driver, right? And she goes to the guy and he's like, yeah, like if you really are, trying to work with us, we could work with you, money is good on this side. So anytime we need rides, it kind of sucks waiting on a Lyft and Uber whenever we can call you at the drop of a dime to say, hey, I need to go to X, Y, and Z from X, Y, and Z. How long is it going to take you? Like, if you give me your number, this and that, we can make some shit happen. We can go from there. I'm kind of like thinking to myself, like, but at the same time, like, I ain't give a damn, bro. I gave up my phone number, bro. I gave the phone number out because I know you're never going to call me again. I guarantee you by the time you get up into that motel room and, take that washcloth and that baby wipe, that baby wipe is going to wipe off your memory from down there. It's got a lot of shit going on down there. And it's a boiling pot of X, Y, and Z that we're not going to get into. So by the time that scent hits your nose and it hits all the way up them nose hairs, it hit them nose in your brain, the rest of that memory is going to be just wiped. Everything's going to be brain fog at this point. So my phone number is going to be forgotten. And to this day, well, I changed my number at this point, but to this day, they never called me. They never contacted me ever again. But also at the same time, I'm one of those kind of people, like a paranoid veteran. I ain't answering that phone if it ain't saved in my call log, man. But that's just me, man. So it was just like very interesting to like think that like people are so comfortable enough to share their life, but also at the same time, when you're one of those door-to-door sales lady is what I like to call them, when that quota needs to be met, that quota needs to be met and you're willing to get it at any means necessary. Am I right? There is one more story that I do want to get off before I go ahead and close out this episode. And basically, to paint the picture for you guys, this is one of those nights, I think it was probably like a Friday or Saturday night. So basically, in this story, to be specific, I had an encounter where I had to go pick up from this apartment complex over there on the south side of the city. And this apartment complex in particular, like most, didn't really have a whole lot of lights going through the parking lots. Now, the one thing that I think is very interesting about apartment complexes in general is that they put that one little measly ass light at the very top of the building. And just because this is a 2 to 3 story building, that light is only stretching so far, man. Luminescence can only take you so far. And I mean, when you're trying to avoid that hash singing slasher, and you can only see a certain distance in front of you, man, anything can pop out of those shadows, man. And these shadows did not prepare me about the stories that I was going to hear on this night in particular. So I go and I pick up this lady over there at that apartment complex on the south side. And she, I see this lady walking out and already knew that it was going to be an interesting ride and an interesting night because she actually went to the wrong car. And I think it was just, the description, white car, you're just walking out. So she literally walked up to the first car that was right there and she full on like opened the back door to the car and everything. And I mean, as a man, you don't really think about those kind of things as far as like getting into the wrong car. I'm not saying that it can't happen to you, but as a man, I'm never concerned about being kidnapped. I'm not concerned about, somebody hawking me down to lure me in to, offer me some candy, if you will, man. Listen, bro, I ain't going for none of it, man. That's just me. But she literally goes to like walk to the car, open the door to this random ass other car. And I could see her like, oh my gosh. And I had the windows down as well. So I can hear like, oh my gosh. Like, I thought you were my Uber driver. I'm so sorry, guys. Oh my gosh. And I see her like scan the room and looking like this and that outside. And then she's like, and looks at me and she's like, oh, okay. And I put my phone out because there's like a little feature. I think it's on Lyft. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's on Uber to where you can make your screen flash. And I think it flashes orange is what it used to. I don't know what it is now, but there's one of those features where basically you can flag your passenger down. And I mean, of course, at one point in time, they used to offer you one of those, I'm not sure what they call it, but it was like this little thing that was like shaped like a tiny little blimp or Bluetooth speaker that lit up saying Lyft. And basically, you turn it on whenever you're on the shift, but whenever you're off the shift, you turn it off, kind of like a taxi light or like a bus light, if you will. So I have a little sticker in my windshield, but of course, when it's nighttime, you're not going to really see that sticker and see what it says. You just see a white sticker in the top corner of my windshield. So she walks up to my car and I can see her like, giggling and shit like that. And she gets in the back seat. I said, oh, well, hey, nice to meet you. She's like, you're my Uber driver, right? And I was like, are you such and such? And she's like, yes, that's me. Oh my goodness. And she's like, did you see that? Did you see that? And I was like, oh, you mean you about to get into the car and almost get kidnapped? And she's like, shut up. Listen. She's like, I'm kind of drunk if you can't tell. And I was like, really? So I'm like thinking to myself, like, oh, this is going to be one of those kind of rides. All right, that's cool. And she's like, oh my gosh, like, I almost just got kidnapped. What the hell? I'm like, yeah, you almost did. Like, you need to be careful out here. You see how dark it is, this and that. And she's like, listen, it's been a crazy night. It's been this. She was like, I just got out of jail a couple of nights ago. And I'm like, bro, what the like, how do I end up in these scenarios to where I always end up getting to pick up these people who are dealing with turmoil? But also at the same time, when you're getting a Lyft and an Uber ride, obviously your resources aren't even in the best place to begin with. So you're just doing what you can to get to your destination. And on this aspect in particular, trying to do what you can to get your chili. That way you can make yourself back or put yourself back in a position of where you used to be. So she's like, yeah, it's been kind of like a rough weekend. She's like, I just got arrested a couple weeks ago. Like, I literally just got out of jail like 2 days ago. And I was like, what? What do you mean you just got out of jail? She's like, oh my goodness. She's like, let me tell you, it was some BS in all honesty, man. She's like, so I'm a dancer. And she's like, obviously, I don't have a car. And she's like, I mean, I do have a car, but being a dancer, it's really not safe for you to drive yourself. Like anybody can do it, but it's just not safe because you don't want somebody to follow you home and like see you get into the car, or anything like that. She's just like, it's just a lot of things that you don't want to do that. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, lady, you don't have to explain this to me. Like, tell me what you're trying to tell me. I want to hear why you got arrested. I want to hear. So she literally was like, so like literally, I'm leaving out of the club and like I'm drunk as shit and I find my Uber driver and this club in particular. If you are from Oklahoma City, this is Baby Dolls. And I think that's the name of the club. Baby Dolls and Deja Vu, I think is the name of it. Where in our city in particular, it's in this town that's called Valley Brook. Valley Brook is not really even like a city, in my opinion. It's just a neighborhood that just happened to has just like a little bit too much money invested into their police department, because this police department is also next door to this club. So it's just a recipe for the disaster. And I mean, there's a whole lot of things going on in that town, but that's for another time, man. So back to the story at hand. She goes to tell me that, like, she's like, I'm drunk as shit. I'm getting off of work and I find my Uber driver and it's about, 3, 4 in the morning. We're all leaving the club. And she's like, I get into the Uber driver's car and we pull off and maybe go a block. And they just, turn the lights on, 12. They pull us over and we're right over there into the parking lot of their police department. And I'm sitting there like thinking to myself, like, wow, like what could we be possibly getting pulled over for? And she's like, she goes up to the driver's side and the partner of this police officer goes to the back seat. And the first thing that they tell this lady in the back seat of this Uber driver is they ask her to get out of the car so they can give her a breathalyzer test. And she's like, bro, what? Like, I'm in the back seat. I'm not even operating the car. Like, what do you mean you want me to get out of the car? Like, what does this have to do with anything? And they're like, it doesn't matter, ma'am. You need to get out of the car now. And she's like, they didn't even give me a breathalyzer test. They just handcuffed me and threw my ass in the back seat of the car like their jail wasn't right in front of us. And I was like, bro, what? So, if you know, take a look and take a moment to look up Valley Brook Police Department in Oklahoma City. They actually at one point were investigated by the FBI. This was a couple of years ago, so I don't really know the results. And honestly, I stopped driving, so I really kind of wanted to stay out of the loop, man. So she goes to tell me that, like, yeah, like they put me out of the car, they put me in handcuffs, and they put me in the back of this damn police car. And they're like, yeah, we're going to book you. You were, what do they call, like disorderly conduct and public intoxication and this and that. And she's like, this is BS. Like, what are you talking about? Public intoxication? I'm in an Uber. I'm in the backseat of an Uber trying to go home. Like, what do you mean? I'm just trying to go home. Like, I just got off of work and this and that. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, bro, what? They can do that? And apparently they can. I mean, in this town, this is just one of those places. But basically, she's like telling me, like, yeah, like I literally just got out of jail and this and that. And she's like, it was just honestly some BS. But she's like, in that little town in Valley Brook, she's like, you know about Valley Brook, right? And I was like, I mean, I know a little bit. She's like, so you already know, like, they're always up to nothing, bro. They're up to something at all times. So she's like, anytime, whenever you're leaving there, you really got to be on 10. And she's like, but also, that's really not the first time that that's happened. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, it's not the first time that this has happened. So they knew who you were. So obviously they were looking for something. And she goes to tell me that, like, a couple months prior to that, she was driving herself at this time. No. Actually, she said she caught a ride with another dancer. And another one of those scenarios where she literally was leaving the club and her and the dancer that she was leaving to go home, they both were drunk, but they sat in the car a little bit to try to, sober up or whatever the case. And same scenario, drive about a block, they get everybody and go on about their business, pull them both out of the car. But she was the one who got arrested. So I'm like thinking to myself, like, there's got to be more to the story that you're not telling me, at the fact that you have been the only one that has been arrested in 2 of these scenarios. And I've only known you for about 5 minutes. And I mean, you got in the car and it's about 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. And I can see that grill in your bottom teeth shining. There's only certain type of women who are, walking around with a little bottom grill. I'm not talking about slugs. I'm talking about the full bottom 6. There's only certain type of women who wear those kind of things. And I mean, you done already told me 2 scenarios about how you got arrested being a passenger. So I digress, man. It's just crazy, like thinking like you already got these things going on and you got so many stories to tell. And I've only been in the car with you for about 5 minutes. And you're telling me all about this. And she's just like, yeah, she's like, life is a movie, man. Let me tell you something. She's like, when it comes to like being a dancer, you just experience so many different things that you would never think people run into. And she's like, it's also funny because like being in this life as a dancer, she's like, you meet so many different people. And, she was like, before this, she's like, I'm just mad that like I've ended up in this scenario. Cause she's like, it was so much better whenever it was me and my sister doing this. And I'm like, what do you mean you and your sister? She was like, well, she's like, I used to not be a dancer, but my sister is the one who got me into it. She's like timid. She's like, I'm not saying that she's like scary or nothing like that, but she's like one of those kind of people to where she always wants to do all these things, but feels like she can't do things by herself. So needs somebody to go with her. And she's like, I mean, me being the little sister, it's like, oh, okay, I'll go ahead and take a ride with you and this and that. And she's like, shoot, like, I don't know what you so scared for. We can just do this. We can make all this money. We can come together and do X, Y, and Z. Like, let's do it. So I'm like, okay. And apparently, when it comes to you working in these kind of fields, it's very good for you to have a partner. So probably was beneficial. But what she actually told me is that how their partnership worked is, they shared outfits. They picked out outfits for each other and did whatever they could to make sure that they can maintain their image or whatever you want to call that. And she literally had told me about how they had a falling out. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, okay, so if you guys are making money together, something is going to cause a rift between you guys. So what was the straw that broke the camel's back? That's what I want to know. And she's like, oh my goodness. Like, she's like, you're going to laugh. This is so stupid. She's like, we literally had a falling out over hair. And I was like, what? And she's like, let me tell you. She's like, so, like I say, we were sharing outfits and stuff like that. And she's like, I'm not saying that like my sister's broke or nothing like that, but she's not about her money like I am. So like I spend a lot of money on my image, it's very big. The best way that you can, get your return on investment is you got to make yourself look presentable in order for people to want to approach you and pick you, if you will. So she's like, I spent a lot of money on wigs. And she was like, I mean, I've been there before, but she's like, she be wearing like dollar store wigs and this and that. I was like, what? It's like, don't laugh. Like, that's my sister. Like, I know we're mad at each other, but don't laugh. Don't laugh. And she's like, because I've been there before. She's like, this little broke asshole. She ain't never did this. She ain't never spent money. And, I buy real hair wigs and this and that. And I'm like dying because I'm like, bro, what are you telling me right now? Like, what are we talking about? And she's just like, no, like, we had a falling out and this broke asshole really took my wig from me. So it's like, like I miss her and that's my sister, but it's like at this point, all I want is my wig. Like if she just returned my wig, we could be copacetic and this and that. And it's just like so funny to me to like think that you can run into all these different type of scenarios to where people feel so comfortable enough to tell you everything that they do and just have no shame to share these stories. But I love it because I get to come to the podcast and share with y'all, man. So on that note, fool, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up here. So, of course, if you are not following me, that is at ITYMD.podcast. That is on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, everywhere else that you can find podcasts at, man. So